All right, I think we're waiting on one more person, but they should be coming on. Hey guys, we're this study hours is on our Zoom, on our YouTube. And I want to be able to go over there and show our new students where that is. So welcome aboard. And we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. Mic check, just making sure there's only one device per box, okay? All right, let's roll. All right, no, you don't pay for it. Someone's having a hard time jumping on. All right, we got someone coming in. Thank you. Our aesthetics is joining tonight because it's they have Lash training in the aesthetics course as well. Let's prepare to move over. I'm sharing my screen. Everybody should be able to see that. You don't have for this study hour. You do not have to have the cameras on. But I do want to go into SEMA. And when you come into SEMA, of course, go over to your course. Okay. And that's the Eyelashes first edition. Milady is the only company curriculum wise that has built a course for licensure. So your license, the test for your license will be coming from these 8 chapters. All right. Well, yeah, coming from these 8 chapters. As you look on here, we have the ebook, which has your chapters. We also have, when it comes to lashing, of course, we're going to talk about tools. We're going to talk about anatomy and physiology, all of the parts of the eye and the areas around the eye. We're also going to talk about disorders and diseases, allergies of the eye. The safety is a major component. Lash application, the tools to use, eyelash and eyebrow services. Here's the thing, although this is a lash course, all right, meaning if you are already working, the eyelash course covers you doing brows as well, okay, such as here's your scope of practice, brow tint, okay, and brow lamination, not brow waxing, brow tint and brow lamination, not brow waxing. And then, of course, there's the building your eyelash business. And then we have our end of the phase, end of the course exams. And so that's how we're going to rock it. Your ebook, according to your lesson plans, you should be following it throughout the week. Your one true assignment every week is completing your check-in questions. Okay. I will have study guides that I'll often share with you via email, or I send you a link via text or something of that nature. But you should definitely be studying each component of the ebook. All right. This is the only textbook for the licensure where the actual license exam test is coming from. So it's kind of like you have nobody else to compete with. You gotta review this book. This course is only a matter of 10 weeks, sometimes 12 to stretch it out, but you have 8 chapters. Okay, so that means every week we do study each chapter, but we also are going to go back. Okay, we're going to go back and prep for the exam as well. When we get to the exam portion, you will see one or two students. Usually I have students that may have not taken their exam from the last class. They just need a refresher, so they will jump back in and take some more notes. So closer to the end of the class, you may see one or two faces, and simply who those people are, they're just individuals who are getting ready to take their exam. They want a little bit more, they want a little bit more review before they go. And I do allow them to come in towards the end of the course. I will do the same thing for you. Ultimately, your pass fail rate lies on the school. So we have to make sure that you are prepared, you pass your test, and you get your license. Okay. And from the licensure, you go to work. All right. So looking at the ebook here, it's all of the chapters, but I want to open up each section. And this is chapter 1. So I open up chapter 1. I want everybody to note, um, of course, this is just breakdown of each chapter. Okay. It's not a lot of things, but here's the most important components other than the ebook. You're going to come down to each box. Once you open it up, the last 3 items in the box, those are going to be your most important study components. Your slides. If you're a person that says, hey, I can do virtual, but I need some color, I need some excitement. If you can't do your textbook with all the words, there are presentations. There are PowerPoint presentations. That's your slideshow. Okay. That slide is a summary of the chapter, but it's also colorful. You're going to see lashes. You're going to see application techniques. You're going to see a lot of things. So I tell them, click the slides, download it. You can study all of this on the go. Okay. Flashcards. If you see terms that you've never seen before, you will need to know your terms. I'm going to continuously repeat, know your terms, all right? When you are taking an exam, they're going to use terminology that's within your textbook, okay? Know what the words mean. If you know your terms, you can find some idea of what's going on, then you absolutely will get the question 9 times out of 10 right. Okay. You got to know your terms because that's how you know what the question is asking. If you don't understand the word, we got to research the word. So, what's going to help you, and whether you're an esthetician or lash specialist, you got to know what you're talking about. You got to know your terms. Okay. And then, of course, the exam review is just a picture, a capture of study questions, very few of them. But we're going to get in, we're going to talk chapter 1. I've gotten the study guides from chapter 1. Thank you so much. As far as the check-in questions, I'm going to get those checked and get them back out to you. We're moving forward also with chapter 2. You can go ahead and start reading that after today and working on your check-in questions, terminology, reading over the last 3 things of each box, which is a slide presentation, the flashcards, and the sample exam. So let's jump into the ebook. A very short chapter this is, but let's jump into the ebook. And it initially talks about the history of eyelash enhancements. Y'all, this is what we have. that we talk about. You can't know where you're going. You got to know where you're going, but you got to know where you come from too. Okay. So if you're going to be say, hey, my specialist is lashes. Okay. Someone's trying to get on. Let's see what they're looking like. Okay. So if you're saying your specialist is specialty is lashes, okay, with that specialty being lashes, you need to know everything about it. If you're an esthetician and you're going to specialize in waxing or facials, I need you to know everything about that. That's how you're going to be considered an expert. That's how you're going to be able to demand what kind of money you want. All right. Not just settle. Because when you're educated about a skill and things of that nature, you're going to be just fine. And y'all, I'm typing. One moment. Okay. So you got to know what you're talking about. You're going to learn a word that I'm going to put in the chat. My esthetician student probably has already heard it. Okay. Contraindications. All right. Contraindications. Contraindications, everybody must know that. Even though, yes, I do lashes, yes, I do skincare, yes, I do hair, every practice has contraindications. Contraindications are reasons a person cannot forget the service, reasons that a person cannot get the service. That's a contraindication. So, although I really want to provide the service, I want them to have these amazing, beautiful lashes. Well, if a client came to you and they don't have any eyelashes, no natural eyelashes, how are they going to get lash extensions? Because the lash extensions have to be attached to something. So either we can't even build anything without natural lashes. Okay. So we have to understand contraindications, the things that possibly could happen, the reason we cannot get these services. All right. And I tell anybody, if you are taking money for a service, you need to be able to tell me three benefits of the service and also three, so I guess you can say pros and cons, three benefits of the services and three contraindications. Okay. Let's see if y'all are listening to me. Go into the chat, okay? A contraindication is something that says no, this person cannot get the service. Okay? That's a person that cannot get the service. An example of a contraindication. Let's look at disease and disorder. If a person has signs of infection around the lashes or in any area around the lashes of the eye, that is a contraindication. Sign of infection. Okay. I cannot apply false eyelashes around the area where there is an infection. So if the client comes in with an infection, I cannot perform a service because of that said infection. That infection is probably going to be communicable, which means it passes from person to person. So if you put eyelashes on this person, you could catch something you can take home to your family. The tools that you use, praying that they're clean, it could continue to move. That infection bacteria moves from person to person within the salon. And so that's the contraindication, one of them, that the client cannot get a service if there's an infection or signs of infection around the eyes or lash area. Okay. Now put a one in the chat if you understand that. A one in the chat if you understand that. Contraindication is an indication that I cannot perform the service on a client. Everything you do, there is a contraindication. Okay. Put a two in the chat if you understand that an esthetician or a lash tech, I'm going to call you a service provider, you must, a minimum, whatever you do, have three benefits because we got to sell it. Three benefits why a person should be getting the lashes, and you also should have three benefits of why they can't get the lashes. Three benefits of why this person can get a brow wax, and it should be three things why if you saw this, if it occurred, they can't get it. Okay? Every service we offer comes with pros and cons. As a professional, we acknowledge those cons, contraindications, and we bring them to the forefront. As an individual who is not educated, they overlook those and continue to do the service and put the clients in harm's way. All right. That jeopardizes our license, our business, our family, their livelihood, overall, just the health of that person's body. So it's bigger than what we've been seeing and them saying, oh, I just come on, get them, just trying to make the money. No, it's a lot of things going on. Okay. It's a lot of things going on. So I wanted you to just take a moment and check that out. And just so we're on the same page, I'll look at the chat shortly. Why study eyelash extensions? I'm going to highlight, bookmark this. Okay. Anything I bookmark, you need to go back and study. Anything I highlight in some of the areas of this textbook is highlighted. Those are studying points as well. So students, clients are always saying, why do you choose eyelash? Why we got to go to school to learn about eyelashes? Y'all, they created this law like back in 24, right? July 1st, 2024, because so many people were doing eyelash and they were causing so much harm to people's eyes and pupils. Like some people went blind. They were using nail glue for lash extensions. Okay. You had people allergic to so many glues. They were having just stuff off the market. All kind of stuff was happening. Using all kinds of adhesives. And you're going to learn about different kinds of adhesives and base what's going on with the client. That's the adhesive you choose. So if you're doing lashes or seeing somebody do lashes and they're only using one glue, one adhesive, that's the technical term for glue. Let me tell you something. One adhesive does not suffice for all the clients that's going to come in there. Almost everybody got something different going on with their hair, skin, and nails. Okay. There are about three types of adhesive, three categories I will put my clients in. Three categories. Okay. Three categories. Right. And so everybody should not be looking for the adhesive slash glue that the eyelashes never come off. If that is such a thing, I'm leery of it because why is it on? Why is it sticking on so long? What ingredient is in there that does not wear down with oil and water over a period of time? So it tells me that something caustic is going on. And if you understand the anatomy, we're going to talk about that next week, the anatomy of the eye, you'll understand that oil glands are constantly being produced. Oil is constantly being produced from the oil glands. Oil, sweat, and dirt pile up around the eyelash, eyelid area. Okay. So when that happens continuously throughout the day, and you may have a 7 to 14 day wear on most lash extensions, I would say 14 to 21. If you have hit a 30-day mark and lash extensions and adhesive has not budged, I will do a double take, because now we're looking at clogging of those pores. Okay. Clogging of that excess oil and dirt and skin that's just been sitting up there that needs to come out. And it actually, as the lashes will continue to grow, that adhesive ball will become very heavy on the lashes. And if it's very heavy, then the new lash that's coming in is going to break. So there's a meaning to a lot of different things, and so there's a time frame to a lot of things as well. I believe once you jump into it, you one thing or hit another, and you're like, okay, this is where we're going. This is what we've been doing. We were unlicensed, but as we are licensed, we know better. Okay, so as you're in school, you learn and you know better, and we begin to do better. All right. Let's look at why study lash extension history and careers. We got to know where we come from. Highlighting this in pink. You already have a term. What is an eyelash technician? Many states have different names. In Tennessee, we call it an eyelash specialist. Okay, still a tech. Okay, but a lot of the textbook says technician. Tennessee calls it a specialist. They are the same thing. Okay, there are so many things that influence eyelashes. I just want to tell you now, the majority of people who wear lashes now are women. Started out, the majority of people that wore lashes were men. The majority of the people that wore lashes were men. Okay. They even went so far as to sew eyelashes on someone's real lashes, sew fake hairs on someone's real lashes. And you like, now they're doing the glue, the adhesive. Can you imagine taking an itty bitty needle and thread and sewing that hair extension on the lash line? They wanted them lashes so bad. That was just in the beginning. They were looking for a way of attachment. Okay. They were looking for a way of attachment. And so it flows, it crosses so many different barriers. It's always good to know where they come from and where they're going. They became very, very popular when you had movies start to come about. People started to discover motion pictures, which are movies and TV sets and things of that nature. That really drove the eyelash business, and also just the evolution of lashes. Before then, you had a lot of individuals who were very, I would say, very English, European, like Queen Elizabeth, royal court, because they were considered a luxury. Okay, so it wasn't like the average person was just walking around with eyelashes. No, it was considered a luxury. You had to be super, super rich, super, super prestigious to wear eyelashes. And guess what, guys? The bigger the lashes, the more prestigious you were. And so you see people now with very voluminous lashes, large lashes. And the lashes back then showed how prestigious you were in society. Okay. And so two totally different functions now. They wear large lashes now because they want to. Nothing wrong with that. But back then they used to do it just to show an era of wealth. Okay. Why should we study? We have thorough understanding. Okay. Many older methods of eyelash, and eyebrow enhancement have evolved. So we're not doing the old stuff anymore. There's new stuff. This is why, and I'm going to highlight this in yellow. It's August 20th, 2026. Y'all, there'll be something new in January when it comes to lashes. It'll be something new in July. It'll be something new in December. It's always going to, in every industry, it's always going to be something new. Okay. So new techniques and things like that. As you guys get licensed, do not stay stuck with what you do have learned to do right now. Okay. As the times move and grow, people grow and move, and people travel to different cultures, they marry, they grow families. You should be moving and evolving as well as your clients move and evolve. This world will keep on spinning. Okay. And let me tell you, even though we're in Tennessee, we're considered Southern Bible Belt, however you want to say it, they do lashes a different way in California. Go to California and find out how. They do it a different way in Detroit, Chicago. Go there and find out how. Why? And then they do it differently. Virginia, Baltimore, DC, New York. Everybody has their own way of doing it. For me, I always say wherever I go, I want to ask about the industry. What's hot here may not be hot somewhere else. And let me tell you about fashion and trends being behind. Back in the day, I would go to Atlanta because Atlanta would have the most up to date music, hair fashion, all kind of stuff. Well, people were coming from New York, Detroit, California, going to Atlanta before they were coming to Memphis. And so when you interact or go to a trade show, when you interact with people from all over the world, you start to see their styles, their cultures, and you start to learn what's already popping over there. I would come back home and it would be 2, 3 years later, then I would see what I saw a long time ago. That's how I learned that Memphis was kind of behind a little bit because what I had been seeing in Atlanta, I didn't see it again until 2, 3 years ago. It didn't hit Memphis for 2, 3 years. So you can't stay here because all the innovation is going to be all around you. I tell people all the time, go out and bring back. Go out and bring back. Okay. Natural hair in California is totally different from natural hair here. When you talk natural hair, people want silk outs, things of that nature. They don't want silk outs in California because of the weather. In Phoenix, Arizona, they can't do that. It's a different type of heat. Okay. But it's good to have a silk out, but they have silk out systems. They have to use a little something to break their hair down. Okay. They're used to more curly, natural sets. That didn't hit us till about 4 or 5 years ago. And so it is depending on where you go and what you know. You cannot learn now and get stuck here. I'm good, I'm all right. That clientele is going to want to grow, and they're going to want to grow with someone who is learning all of the new relevant things. Okay. You're going to find your niche, but also you can stay right there, but also continue to grow. I tell my students all the time, and this is for any student, every quarter you should be taking a class. Every 3 months, you should be learning something new about your career. Going to a trade show, a free online seminar, sitting in somebody's class locally, going to work with somebody for free, just so you can learn if they're willing to share. All right. So many different options for you to get some learning, and that means that you have to remain teachable. So I'm always in a class, always going somewhere, and I don't have to be loud in the room. I will sit there on the floor and just be a sponge because I know what getting, and when I take it back, how beneficial it is. All right. So you always want to grow, learn new techniques. Okay. Don't get stuck in the old. Knowing eyelash extension history helps you understand beauty trends and their origins. People will tell you nothing what we do is new. Everything circles back around. They're absolutely right. Okay? Absolutely right. If you're going to work on set, movies, fashion shows, fashion weeks, New York, Milan, Italy, Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, all that good stuff, people got to have their lashes and makeup done. If you're going to work those, a lot of times with designers, you're going to see them take from old and bring it into a new era. You would do the same thing with lashes. When you're talking, looking at a fashion show, and you're trying to see like what the trend is going to be, Paris Fashion Week, you can put it up on YouTube. Milan Fashion Week, that's Italy. Put it up on YouTube. See when the last one was. Follow the trend. If they had 50 models with sleek ponytails, guess what? Sleek ponytails is going to be in for 2027. A lot of people will look at those major shows and start, setting themselves in place that this is what's going to come. So you don't have to wait and say, oh, if it's always late. No, go out and get it and bring it back. Go out and learn and bring it back. It's important to recognize the limits of the eyelash technician's scope of practice. It's highlighted scope of practice. It's not termed, but it's scope of practice. This is what you need to know. As a lash technician or a lash specialist or an esthetician, everybody has a scope of practice. That means within the law, this is what you're allowed to do. When I say law and rules, your license comes under the submission of state of Tennessee. The state of Tennessee, Tennessee State Board of Cosmetology and Barbering regulates lash extensions. Under the state of Tennessee, it has regulations of what that license can do, what that license cannot do. Do not let anyone tell you that you do not need a license for a lash specialty or to be a lash tech in Tennessee, because you do. It is actually the law. Okay? As of July 1st, 2024. It is the law. All right? Number 2, if you go work, for example, in a med spa, that means it's a skincare clinic, but they focus on medical skincare. If there is no doctor coverage, certification, insurance, you are not able to work there. In order for med spas to really work, a doctor has to put their number on the line. So if there's no medical doctor that signs up for that, there is no such thing as a med spa. Medical, med spa, doctor. Okay. Nurse practitioners are great, but you need the doctor. Okay. And under the doctor, then you have nurse practitioners and nurses. And most med spas will have one. All right. So although you're a lash specialty, you cannot be administering Botox. Okay. You're a lash specialist. You cannot be doing a facial. Stay within your scope of practice. A lash tech cannot wax. A lash tech can do lashes. They could do brow tinting. Okay. They could do brow lift, lash lift, and they could do brow lamination. That's smoothing the hairs, making it sleek and smooth of the brows. That's what they can do. Okay. Now, we had a new law that's coming that pulls makeup out of aesthetics. So, and I think makeup is probably going to be a certificate. Okay. So if you are a licensed lash tech, you may want to go get a certificate for makeup. And that way you can do makeup and lashes. Kind of build up on that. Okay. And so even for aesthetics, you're gonna be able to do all of it with skincare, lashes, makeup, facials, waxing, all of that. That's the mama of the licensure for skincare. But lash specialty and makeup are kind of on the lesser. You won't have to have the big test and study over everything, but it also limits things that you can do. Okay. So you got to know your history and got to know your scope of practice. How do we know the scope of practice? We study our state law and our rules. You're going to get a first glance of that today. Okay. Get a first glance of that today. You'll discover the promising career path available to you within the eyelash industry, which means you about to make some money, 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 money. Okay. You about to make some money. You about to see all the different areas. You don't have to sit up in a salon or a suite and just do lashes all day. That's the minimum. There are so many other things you could do with your license that's going to bring you money, 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 money. Okay. You could teach. You can open up your school. You can own the shop. You can just be a lash specialty shop. All right. You ain't got to have all the other stuff that a regular shop is required. You may want to have your own product line, your own lash line. You may want to work on the business aspect of it. You may want to have your, like I said, your own lash school, your skin spa school. Um, you may want to work for a company. Okay. There are so many things you can do. And when you work for companies, you say, also, I want to travel, but I don't want to pay for it. Well, when you work for companies, the companies pay for your travel. They give you training. And so they're basically paying you to go train somebody how to use their products, and you get the joys of traveling for free. Okay. You may want to just sell the product. You become a distributor. There's so many things you may want to do. You may want to work on film set. If you want to do that, you'll join some of the local film associations and anything that comes to Memphis. Um, you pretty much will have the first any films or videos that's filmed here. You'll have official filmed here. You would have first dib of working behind the scenes on set. You may want to work for theater, do it for theater and things of that like that. Work at the Orpheum. You may want to be freelance. So when people fly in, you just go to their hotels or their Airbnbs. You just never know. Okay. There's so many things you can do outside of just working in a shop. All right. And so your answers are going to be very wise and important for you to study. And you probably have already sent those in. Any questions about just the possibilities of things that you can do with your license? Any questions, whether you're an esthetician on here or whether you're a lash tech? Any questions? Okay. All right.
I got a question.
Uh huh.
So you were saying something about like a med spa,
Uh huh.
and by me being a pharmacy tech, could that be like something I could, do since I work with medicine?
Um, it adds to the resume, but if you look, you will have a great understanding of knowing prescriptions and the ingredients that they're going to be using. But are you a phlebotomist as well?
No. Uh-uh.
Okay. You would need to pick up phlebotomy or maybe become a CNA
Mm-hmm.
because this is what I'm asking because those attributes of checking someone's blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
checking someone's blood pressure, being able to monitor them on the machines, you're that would help you do body contouring.
Okay.
Yeah, from a state scope, that will speak more on the state scope. Um, if we talking med spa, you of course you got to have your license, but the top dog is going to be having a doctor, and mainly that doctor license is on the line. That doctor needs to train everybody that's going to be working under that license in that shop. So you may not be the one that does Botox, but he has to still train everybody because we don't want that license to be at jeopardy if you make a mistake. So he has to really trust. This is also why some people, when they get those jobs, they never leave them because they're settled. They are premium pay. But if you get a doctor that says, I'm aligning with you, you on struck gold. And it's easier than you think, because I met a doctor my first year with the school, and he was coming out of the hospital. He said that he was opening up a med spa. He was coming out of the hospital. And he said he was coming out of the hospital because he liked cash money. He didn't like waiting on Medicare to pay him. And if you know anybody know anything about healthcare, healthcare is had gotten crazy. So the doctors are looking for a side gig too. So if they can get paid and become part of the investment of a spa business, that's amazing. I know a dermatologist that don't do dermatology stuff. They just do Botox. That spot, that part of the spa of their job, just by using the doctor credential, has exploded. They make all of their money off of med spa services in the doctor's office. Okay. So that part is amazing. And once a med spa has that doctor's certification, then you're able to say, hey, let's hire a nurse. The nurse can train everybody from there, or the nurse will be the one doing the sticking. Everybody else can, like you may do the lasering. You'll have advanced training for the laser certification or something of that nature. But if your spa says med spa, you're already into premium dollars, because you're able to offer what the average skincare shop cannot. You don't just do facials, everything you do includes a machine. And every time you pick that machine up, it does something. It works 10 to 20 times better or faster than somebody's hand. That means every time you pick that machine up, you're going to get paid, because people want rapid results. As soon as you use that machine, they're able to look in the mirror and see, man, this looks amazing. Yeah, it works so fast. And with technology growing, who wouldn't want the skills, the training, something of that nature? And people already know what it's going to cost. We went on a field trip one day, and a lady came in with a mink coat, and she had mink coat on. She had pajamas. We was at a med spa, and we were just sitting in the lobby. She came in 15 minutes, she was gone. We was like, what did she get? They was like, her service was like 145. Y'all, she got laser of the lips. Her upper lip, she just got it lasered. It took 15 minutes. They were ready for her when she came in. It took 15 minutes, and she paid $145 to get her top lip lasered. Okay. And so, compared to lasering and waxing, $20 and $145. Yeah. Now the machine and the certification gonna cost more, but you know when you're purchasing that what you can make off of it. All right. So, and it's all about how you market, how you train, and your team being on board. But it's limitless. It's limitless. So, if you have the pharmacy tech, I would get something that involves me checking blood pressures, the CNA, medical assistant, phlebotomy. Getting those, because even with the phlebotomy, you're able to do a facial that includes the pulling, the drawing of the blood. Then they take that blood and put on the face. And so, blood is nourishment. So people draw that blood, and then they take the blood and put it on the face and feed it back into the face, especially if somebody has had a chemical peel, micro needling. Their own blood becomes nourishment and food for the healing of their skin, and they look so much younger when they're done with the treatments within a couple of weeks. Amazing. So I would encourage you to get phlebotomy or CNA to go along with it. I would probably say phlebotomy, because you're going to learn how to check blood pressures, and you're going to be able to draw blood, and you can use that aligned with your skincare license to do some of the advanced facials. Okay. Kiana,
Yes, ma'am.
hey, you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay, how you doing so far?
Good.
You learning something?
I am.
Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, guys. All right. So just the history of eyelashes. Um, just talking about the eyelashes, as I was telling you before, they used to sew the eyelashes, individual eyelashes on there. It was no glue. They sewed. The men
Mm.
were the major ones that were wearing the eyelashes. Okay. And they used the eyelashes to block the sun. So they were bigger. Okay. They used it to block the sun. All right. They would use it with charcoal and oil, like a petroleum, mix it together, and it gave this black eyeliner look. So very deep look. And we see it now. We call it cat eye. They used to do the same thing. They would just take charcoal and oil and use it as mascara or eyeliner. And they call it coal line, KOHL, coal line. Okay, this is how they would make it. You just put one in there, put the oil, and they would just kind of just beat it, break it all the way down. Okay. The ancient Romans thought that women eyelashes should be long and thick. Remember, we talked about times and things never change. They all, you nothing's new under the sun. So long and thick is popular again. Okay. And mainly for women, long and thick is popular again. And as we look here, you see male and female both have on lashes. Okay. Now, here's the thing, women it used to be a thing to emphasize your forehead. They used to shave their forehead back a little bit just so, the bigger it was, the more prestigious it was. I don't know if you guys know anything about lace fronts and stuff like that, but in the movies back in the day, they used to shave the first inch of your hairline back so your lace front would lay, and they had lace fronts back in the day, would lay across the forehead. So you'll find some individuals like, man, their forehead look clean. It's bigger, and it's bigger because their natural hairline was shaved off. So the wig would give that illusion of, what we see today. So nothing is new under the sun. Okay. And the bigger the forehead, the more prestigious it was. I don't know if that's the case today. You see this larger forehead and the hair shaved back, and then they would incorporate the eyelashes. So the eyelashes would bring out their features, and they would start to cultivate and wear more makeup. Okay. So it was a lot of things that came about, different enhancements. If you can look here from 1902 all the way down, it went from Europe to Canada to America. Okay. Even using fish scales as making these little lids, that they would sew lashes onto, like the little nets. If you think of lash strips, you can think of them seeing the fish scales and then them inserting the hairs as well. And so they were trying to create a base, and this started in 1902. Maybelline, the guy that created Maybelline, he really named Maybelline after his sister. Okay, he was very innovative in the makeup and lash and entertainment market when it comes to promoting the lashes as well. Okay. This is in the 1980s, and it wasn't that long ago, y'all. It wasn't that long ago, maybe 40, 50 years ago. This is where lash adhesive started to get better quality. Okay. It just started with better quality. And for years, people would still use like weave glue and things of that nature. That's latex. Many individuals are allergic to latex. And once latex dried, it closed the pore. It snugged the pore, which means no air could get in. The oil and dirt and sweat that has to come up out of the pore was trapped. So now you have people with different things going on with their eyes. They're itching, they're scratching, may have an infection or something. So the weave glue was a no-no. Okay. I even see people now attempt to use weave glue, and I'm like, that is an absolute no-no because it causes more harm than it helps. Okay. And then to remove it, it could snatch out your hairs. All right. And remember, you need those hairs so those hairs can support the new hair that's coming in. We can't have lash extensions if we ain't got no hair to extend it to. All right. We're gonna close out with scope of practice. I am gonna send the state law if I haven't already sent it. Everybody should keep this copy of the state law. When you go do your state board exam, whether you're an esthetician, cosmetologist for Tennessee or Lash Tech, you'll have at least 9 to 10 questions from the state law. Okay. I'm gonna try to give you a sample of those questions so you can start studying them 8 weeks in advance. All right. You study them now. Some of the basic things will be how many hours does a lash tech supposed to have in order to test for license? How old do you have to be to enter a school of cosmetology? How many members on the board? How much does it cost? How many hours for a Cosmo student? How many hours for a barbering student? Those are the type of questions, okay? So we're going to compose a list and we're going to find them. Once you find them, that's going to be your study thing that you want to look at every week until it's time for you to take your exam. All right. I'm going to stop share here because usually we